Good morning, good morning, good morning. Um, I don't love my countdown, so I'm gonna, as y'all come in, as you come in, as you get the notifications, I'm doing a couple of things. I'm sending out the notification to our text community. If you're not on our text list, you should be joining it. And I'm sending out to our text community to let them know that we are live. Because I'm late this morning and I need them to know that we're live. As you come in, say hey. As you're watching, say hey so I know you are here. And the other thing that I found is that every time I go live, my Facebook timeline, for some reason, does not make the live public. So I have to go on my Facebook. So it's a whole process. When I used to see people go live and they would say, come in and play music, I'd be like, why they don't just get started? Well, now I understand why they don't just get started. So I'm waiting to make sure that the live is public on my timeline. So if you can see me as you are coming in, I don't even see me yet. Oh, I do see me. So we just make sure that the live is public. So I have to edit the audience. And then we have to set up the live on Instagram. So I'm going to figure this all out in a way where it's going to be a little bit more seamless. But in the interim, y'all work with me. Y'all bear with me that we are doing the best that we can. So good morning, Paula. Good morning, good morning, good morning. As you come in, say, hey, tag somebody that needs to be on here this morning. My voice is struggling again. So I feel like I go in and out of my voicing and not voicing. But uber excited to be on here. Thank y'all for joining in, even though I'm a few minutes late and giving me grace to do so. So we always open up with a salutation, good morning, and a declaration, morning be good. We got that declaration from Dr. Connie Stewart out of Houston, Texas. I look tired this morning, so I'm trying to gather myself as I can see myself looking tired. We're trying to see if the Instagram live is up, but if it's not, I'm not going to believe the time. Good morning, good morning, good morning, everyone, and welcome. We are on week 7 of Count It All Joy. I had to go back and look at. We actually started on September 1st, which is a Friday, and so we are walking into our 7th Friday, so our 7th week of Count It All Joy. And sevens matter to me, right? Sevens are a number that matter. So we are in the month of order and structure, and we are on our 7th week of this particular journey. So I'm uber excited to be getting started with you all. Yesterday was a thing, right? Yesterday gathered me. Yesterday I had to kind of go back and watch. I don't watch replays. I did kind of go back and look at yesterday. I peeked at it just to see, because sometimes I realize that on this particular journey, as I'm sharing things with y'all real time, sometimes I'm processing it as I'm saying it, or I'm saying it and hearing it for the first time and not actually processing what God is actually sharing. So I'm holding myself accountable to going back and actually watching and looking at the replays and seeing what God is saying, because that part is important. So we're going to start this morning with our brief announcements. They're going to be real brief. So this week, again, we are getting ready or gearing into or moving into November 17th. I'm uber excited. You guys have been registering. So we have about 15 registrants, which I'm uber excited about. Our goal is 50. That means that we have a couple of slots. So I had it at 40. Somebody told me to increase it to 50. So we have about 35 slots open. But they're still moving fast. We had about 6 people, or 5 or 6 people just purchased just yesterday. As we're going live, people are buying tickets in the evening. They're also buying merch. So uber excited about that. So if you have not registered for Win Faith Meet Strategy, the Crossroad, you want to register. What God has really begun to show me is that, yes, we are navigating ministry and marketplace, but there are many of us that are navigating spaces where we have just stopped dreaming. We've stopped envisioning. We've stopped with the clarity around what it is that our businesses or our ministries, or that both, because some of us sit in the intersection of both, are called to and navigated to. And so I believe that God is going to, on Friday night, unpack and open up and give us to a place where we are dreaming again, we are seeing again, we are clear again about what God is saying. And then Saturday, we're going to step into the space of being able to strategize, have those dreams interpreted, and really strategize what it is that God is showing us and what we need to be doing. So we're going to go from ideation to implementation and execution between Friday and Saturday. Friday, again, is open. If you go to the site, though, I still ask you to register. If you are coming only to Friday and you want to leave a donation, go ahead and do that, because none of this stuff is free. And most of it ain't cheap. We try to really put on something that's quality. If you're coming to both days, go ahead and register. Good morning, Kashana, and morning be good. Good morning, Leslie, and morning be great. Yes. So if you're coming come. If you just want to donate, if you're saying I can't make it, but I want to be able to donate to make sure that the event goes great, you can also do that on the website. We also have merch on the website. We have the Count It All Joy shirts are available. We also have with Faith Meets Strategy. So there's stuff there. I don't want to belabor this part with it. Good morning, Erica. Good morning, Leslie. I see some of y'all that have already registered logging in, so I see some of y'all names. But I'm uber excited about what God is doing, and that He's choosing to do something through me. Right? We missed you too. We missed you too. And so God is choosing to do stuff in me, and I'm uber grateful for that and appreciative of that. We've also opened up our Mighty Network. So if you want to join us on Mighty Networks, we created a community where you all can interact with each other. I felt like I was owning all the interaction and all the engagement. So if you guys are in a space where you want to interact with each other, you can join the Mighty Network. I'll share that link at the bottom of the live, because I don't want to go start looking for links right now, and I didn't come on with the link prepared. But we are going to get in. So those are our brief announcements really quick. I love and appreciate you guys. I am grateful for this community. You guys are keeping me moving. And this week has been uber transparent. I had things that were like scheduled, and then I had Bible studies that I had listed. And it seems like every morning God takes me in a different way, or a more transparent way, or to talk about something that wasn't directly in alignment. Yesterday was not specifically what I was coming on to speak about, but yesterday was a blessing to me. And I hope it blessed others. But I want to say this because I think it's important that, again, as we navigate these journeys and share, I relate a lot to Sarah and to that story yesterday. In a number of different ways, but mainly because I had gotten to a place where I was good in the space that I was in predominantly. I was doing well in the marketplace space. I was growing my business. I had a good career. Then I started growing my business, and the business went well. For those of you that don't know the story, we started right in the middle of a global pandemic. And so I thought, oh, wait, I didn't know the pandemic was going to come, and maybe this is a bad idea. We did 6 figures in our first 6 months. We hit $1 million in total revenue in our first 3 years of being open. So it's like all these things happen really quickly. And then all of a sudden, as I'm doing this, something that I had really put to the side, where I had kind of given up on the idea that I would be useful to churches in that way, that ministry would be something that I would be called to do or be doing. And I really put it to bed. So the same way when we talked about Sarah yesterday, hold on, y'all, because I can't do Daisy this morning. Hold on 1 second. Hold on 1 second. I'm coming. I cannot do it this morning. Nope. No, ma'am. 1 second. I'm coming. So things around ministry. Sorry, y'all don't be bothered by Daisy, but Daisy wears me out. Okay, I can't talk over Daisy. So I don't know what it is about the noise, but I can't talk over her. So we had to put y'all God's puppy in another room. But I have pretty much put to bed or put aside certain things around church and ministry, and I was good just being a member, being a support system, showing up at other people's events, sowing time, sowing energy, sowing money like that. I had gotten okay with that particular point. And so I was looking again at Sarah's story, and in a more calm space, what kept standing out to me was at the point that God comes back and makes Sarah this promise, based on her age and based on societal norms, she had kind of gone through or gotten past the place where birthing a child or having a baby was probably even paramount on her mind, right? And she had gotten through it. When you think again culturally, that society, being barren in that society, had a whole lot of implications. There were a lot of negative implications. There were a lot of hard things that she had to process around the fact of what it meant to be barren, what it meant to not have a child, what it meant to not be carrying a child. So there were economic implications. There were relational implications. People thought that if you were barren, you were cursed by God, right? When it even talked about in your old age, if you didn't have children took care of their parents in their old age. So your ability to be taken care of as you got older, because family members weren't necessarily connected to you in the same way that children were. Like all these negative connotations. I feel like at that point she had already made peace at the age of 60 or 65, whatever the promise God initially made, that there was already a peace in her mind about where she was. And here comes God to disrupt her peace. Here comes God to disrupt and to put back on the table and to re-enter and to almost refrustrate somebody who had already made peace with what they had already given up or moved beyond the state of. And I know that the average person that I am talking to, the average woman that is following me, the average man that is following me, they in that area between 35 to 55 or 60, like in that space where there are a lot of things that they have put to bed, a lot of things that I've told God, okay, I messed that up in my youth, or I didn't really accomplish that, or I didn't do it in my 20s, and I didn't do it in my early 30s, and I didn't get the degree yet, and I didn't get that, I didn't get married yet, or I got married, but it wasn't the right relationship, and so now here I am, or I didn't really start my career, or I didn't launch the business, or I launched the business, and I'm okay with the business just doing basic, like I'm not really pressed. I kind of settled in my mind. I've settled in my mind. Good morning, Lady Daniels. I've settled in my mind that I'm okay with where I'm at now. I've settled in my mind that if this is not my season, it's okay. I've settled in my mind that I won't have that. I've settled in my mind that I'll just cheer everybody else on. I've settled in my mind that I'll just support, or I'll just be good at the box, that being good at being in the box that I've put myself in, or that I've been put in because I didn't do these things. I'll be good, right? I've worked on my jealousy issues. I've worked on my envy. I've worked on making peace. I've worked on being able to support and push everybody else. I've gotten good. I'm okay. And I don't know about anybody else. It's almost like you're in a season of revisiting things that you had put to rest, revisiting things that you had already laid aside, revisiting things that you had already made peace with. Doesn't mean that you never wanted it. It just means that in this season, you had already reconciled in your mind that it's okay if this doesn't happen for me. Or I've reconciled in my mind that it's no longer an option. So I've just made peace with the fact that it's no longer an option, that it's not on the table anymore. So let me just move on and focus on something else. Right. And I feel like that's where many of us are. If that's you, if that registers, if you relate to that, drop a yes in the chat. That I had, not that I gave up on life, not that I was just going, curse God and nothing like that. But I had just gotten okay with being the fact that I may not do these things, that these things weren't designed for me, that it was okay if I never had this again, that I was just going to go ahead and make the best of what I can make the best of. I'll make the best life that I can. I'm going to be able to, even when we started with this count it all joy, some of us were like, let me count it all joy that I ain't got these things. Let me just be at peace with the fact that this will never be my portion. And I think that the beauty in the story, while God snatched me yesterday, right, in a more calmer space, the beauty in the story was that in the midst of all of this, God is able to say to us that you may have put some things to bed. You may have learned to be okay. You may have took it on the chin. You may have said, I'm all right if it's not mine, if it's not for me to have. I'll support everybody else. I'll be okay with everybody else, right? What Erica said, tricking ourselves to being content, because that's what they tell us to do. Be grateful for what you got. Somebody else always is doing worse. You doing better than somebody else. While you complained about not having no shoes and then you saw a man with no feet. So we learn, especially as women and women of color, to just make peace. We don't want to be envious. There's some of us that I don't want to be a mean girl. I don't want to be jealous. I don't want to be a crab in a barrel. I don't want to tear down somebody else's shine. I don't want to block anybody else's blessing. Like, I really want to be a good person. So I've just learned to be okay with everybody else being okay and me just navigating that it could be worse. And I believe that God, in his grace and in his majesty and in his mercy, even in a way that doesn't necessarily look fair, because in my mind, I was still battling yesterday, like, God, but why would you do this to Sarah? Why would you re-spark this desire in her at this particular point and then have her waiting again? What did you possibly trigger in Sarah by making her wait again when she had probably made peace with it, and now you're putting it back on the table, but now she got to wait again. Now she got to run through her mind again. Now she got to process again this new space. Now she got to trust you again for something that she decided probably she wasn't ever going to have. Now all this stuff has to be brought back up. All this stuff has to be brought back up. All this stuff has to be brought back up for her. And what God is beginning to show me, and I believe show us, is that his timing is the timing. His timing is the time. If you even go on to read, after Sarah dies, Abram has more children. But Isaac, Abram has more children with another wife named Keturah. She has more children, but Isaac was the promise. And so even when Sarah is gone, right, and off the scene, Sarah dies before Abram. Isaac is there, and there are things that only Isaac gets. So Keturah has more children. Ishmael is already alive. Keturah has about 5 or 6 more children for Abram, and they all get a blessing, but Isaac holds on to the promise. There's something that we have to do. There's something that each of us is designed to birth into the world. There's something that each of us is designed to carry and to nurture. There's something that God is giving us that is really so big that I really believe that if we had just done it when it made sense to do it, if Sarah had the baby when it made sense for her to have the baby, it just would have been another baby. If Sarah had birthed out Isaac at her 20s, or when it made sense, when she was 15, when she was right when her cycle started, right when all the things, if she had done it when it made sense to do it, it just would have been something that was done. Some of us, if we had done the thing the traditional way, if we had gone to school, gotten a degree, met in alignment, if we had gotten married and had the baby and did it this way, if we had birthed the ministry, if we had done the things in the way that made sense for them to be done, it just would have been another ordinary thing. But when God is giving you something extraordinary to carry, when God is giving you something that is designed to shift, when God is giving you something that's designed to last, when God is giving you something that is designed to hold fast, when God is giving you something that is designed to bring generational impact and change, he doesn't normally give it to you under ordinary means. He doesn't necessarily hand it to you under the ordinary constructs. He doesn't necessarily give it to you under what normally would happen. Why? Because it takes the extraordinary to be extraordinary. Like, you have to sometimes go through extraordinary things to birth extraordinary outcomes. You have to sometimes go through things that don't make sense to birth the type of faith that it takes. Because here's the other thing. Sarah and Abram couldn't just give birth to an Isaac. They had to raise an Isaac. Sarah and Abram didn't just get to give birth to Isaac and drop Isaac off. They had to raise an Isaac. They had to nurture an Isaac. They had to develop an Isaac. They had to instill certain things into an Isaac. Why? Because of what Isaac was intended to carry. Some of us, had we birthed the business or the ministry or launched the thing or done the thing in that normal space, we may have had enough strength to birth it, but will we have had enough strength to raise it? Would our faith have been elevated to the place where we could raise this thing, where we have had enough life experience, where we have understood and had enough compassion, where we have understood and had enough strength and resilience to raise the thing that God was giving us? Why? Because Isaac has so much to do. From Isaac, so much comes forth. From Isaac is the carrier of the promise. Through Isaac, all these other generations are born. So we have to wonder, we have to think, is God's timing him being unkind? Because what was registering for me is this doesn't align. That if God is kind and he is mindful of me and he is just, why would he do this thing that seems so mean? It seemed cruel to me that God would do this to Sarah, right? But it's not just about what we are birthing. It's about what we have to raise. It's about what we have to develop. It's about what we have to bring it to. It's about what we have to bring it all the way to completion, that we have to raise it all the way to maturity, that we're responsible for bringing it up, right? We're bringing it forward. We're doing what needs to be done with it. If that makes sense, let me know in the chat, right? So there's a freedom in some of God clarifying purpose, clarifying his why. God, why are you taking me this way? God, why are you doing it like this? God, why are you bringing me down this path? There's a freedom sometimes in understanding that God is not random. There's a freedom sometimes in understanding and reminding ourselves that God is kind and he is gracious and he is merciful and he is mindful of us and he thinks about us in these small details. So there's a preparation that comes and is a little different than just birthing the child. Birthing the child requires your womb. Raising the child requires all of you. It means that you're emotionally ready. It means that you're spiritually ready. It means that you have to be in it for the long haul and the long run. And so some of us have not been able to process why now, like why the timing now? God is saying, now you have the bandwidth. Now I'm building you the capacity. Now you have less distractions. Now you have less stuff going on. Now you're less worried about what everybody else has to say. Now you're less worried about what everybody else has to do. Now there's more at stake. Now you're probably going to be more serious about it. Now you're more focused about your life. Now you're clearer about purpose. Now you're more intentional about fulfilling purpose and destiny. Now you have less time for everybody else's opinions to come in and distract you and to move you through. Now you are in the best position to not just birth, but to carry, not just birth, but to raise. Now you're clearer about everybody can't touch your baby. Now you're clear about you can't just drop your baby off at everybody's house to watch it and nurture it. Now you're clearer about the fact that this is important, to God, that it's a big deal. Good morning, Elder Boudreaux. That it's a big deal. Now is different. And so because God is intentional about his promises, because God would never have us out here miscarrying, because God would never have us out here aborting and messing up the assignment, because this particular baby has so much more in it than what we thought we were even going to birth or bring forward. He needed to get us in the right framework, in the right mindset, in the right posture, in the right level of, I don't really care what y'all say. I'm not really invested in what it is that y'all think. I don't have any more time to waste. I don't know about anybody else. I'll be 42 this year. My thought about time is different. My dad died at 53. My mom died at 68. I'm not speaking premature death, but I don't have assumptions that I'll live to be 135 years old. So every day matters differently. Every day matters differently to me. So now when God has given me something, the requirement of obedience feels different. The urgency of execution feels different. So had he given it to me 10 years ago, I may have squandered it. Had he allowed me to birth it in my 20s, I wouldn't have respected it or carried it a certain way. But at this particular stage in my life, things are different. It's more intentional. It's got to make sense. I don't have time to wait on everybody's cosigns and approvals. I don't have time to nurse and babysit how scared I am because I got to do it scared, right? I don't have time to nurse and babysit all the other things. Even this week, I'm like, God, you made me a promise. And everything looks crazy. Everything looks out of order. Nothing looks like it's in alignment. But guess what? I don't have time to waste nurturing and circling the fact that everything don't look like it's in alignment. So God, what's the alignment? God, what we doing? God, we got a countdown. You promised me a good end of year. We got 70 something days to make it happen. So what am I supposed to do? Where are we going with this? Like, it's a different conversation. I don't have time to lick my wounds. I don't have time to just soak. Yes, I've had moments of catharsis. Yes, my friends have gotten some text messages. I was like, baby, I want to go underground and live with the mole people. Last night, I was like, I'm ordering a burger and I'm watching Golden Girls. I ain't got nothing to give. But we're back up this morning. Why? Because there's a different urgency. Having faith is the whole purpose of faith is it don't look like. It is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. That is why faith becomes important. And so God is trying to free us out of what we believe should have been happening. God is trying to free us from all the different areas of our lives where we would have been stuck. God has actually gotten some of us to a place where we know it don't look right, where we know that we don't have all the ducks in a row, but there's such a push to do it anyway, that we're perfecting as we go, that we're navigating as we go, that we're moving it. Some of us 5 years ago would not have launched what God has given us because it wouldn't have been cute enough. It wouldn't have been buttoned up enough. We wouldn't have been able to dot all the T's and dot all the I's and cross all the T's. We would have been too concerned about other people's opinions. And what if they laugh at me? And what if it looked funny? And what if people think that I'm copying them? And now there's a different level of push and a different level of desperation. Why? Because I don't got time to play with what you think about what God has given me. Why? Because I already know what wasted time looks like. I already know what it was like in the season that I could have done something, that I didn't do it. And I already went through what it was to make peace with the fact that this was never going to be mine. And now God has given me an opportunity to spin the block. I don't have time to worry about you. And yes, it is scary and stressful and frustrating, but I don't know that he'll give me the opportunity to spin this same block again. So now it's different. Now it's different. Now it's different. God, I thank you this morning. Now it's different. So Sarah is at a point in her life where she don't have time. So God gets Sarah to a point in her life where she doesn't have time. She don't have time. She doesn't have time. And this is not I don't have time. I don't think nobody about to leave the earth tomorrow. But there's an urgency. I need to see what the end is going to be. I have to see what it is that God is actually promising me. I need to see this thing come to pass. I'm sorry, y'all. I have to see it. It has to become what I believe it's going to become. I need to know that God is going to do what he said he was going to do. And I need it to make sense. Isaac was a big deal. And some of us are in a space where we're in our birthing of Isaac season. We are bringing forth our Isaacs. We've lost too much. I don't know about anybody else. We've already lost too much. We've lost time. Some of us have lost people. We've lost mothers and fathers and children and spouses. We've lost too much. We've lost opportunities. We've lost friends. We've lost money. We've lost places. We've lost popularity. We've lost clout. Some of us have lost our reputations. Like all these things have been hit and impacted. So now I'm out here. And all I got is this promise. When you think about, and I want to pull up just a little bit of my notes, and then we can wrap, because this is a little bit more sober for me today. When you look at some of the things, when I looked at, I really kind of went in and was like, help me understand what was at stake for Sarah not having babies at the time she was supposed to have babies. Like, what was at stake? What already happened? So now we think about, here's some of the economic implications, right? They lived in an agrarian society. So when you had more children, they lived in a society where they were farming and doing that stuff. Good morning. So in that particular society, when a woman had children, the more children meant more hands at work. It meant more workers to till the land, to tend to animals. So when people got old, a barren couple or a couple that did not have children, right, would not have had this extra labor or the extra strength or the extra strength of hands, right? So they would have faced different economic challenges, right? Especially in their later years where there were no children to take care of them. So some of the stuff we don't process because in today's society, right, we putting everybody in nursing home anyway, or we got Social Security, or we got things, retirement plans and all that stuff that can take care of us in our older age. But in this society, your children were your retirement plan. Your children were the people that took care of you when you were too old to get out and work on your own. So now Abram and Sarah, as a barren couple, they're in a place where they have no retirement plan. They've got no crutch. They've got no support system. They've got nothing that says when they get to a certain age, I'm going to take care of you. This is where they are. From a religious perspective, I want you to hear this through the lens. So for some of us, we're at the place where we've got no crutch. There is nobody coming to save the day. There is nobody to write us a big check. There is nowhere for us to go stay. If this don't work, this don't work. That's it. We're at a place where it's different. The implications are different. The risk is higher. When we think about the religious implications, barrenness at that time may have been seen as a punishment or a sign of disfavor from God. Right? So this could have a person in a spiritual crisis that's saying, wondering, why were they being punished? Some of us, we are ministry and marketplace. Some of us have to, in front of people who think we should be doing better, have to look at God. Am I being punished? Why do I have to live this in front of all these people? Why does everybody get to see? It looks like if I was doing your will, it would seem that I would be blessed. It would seem that things would be happening better for me. It would seem like, right, my life would have taken, I'm preaching and teaching and doing what you said, and my family is falling apart, and my bank account looks weird, and I am overwhelmed, and I am stressed. And yeah, I made some fumbles along the way, but I repented about why am I, there's other people that fumble bigger, and they doing good. So what does it mean? So people are looking at me like I must be messing it up big time if I can't be blessed. People are challenging my ministry. They're challenging the validity of what it is that I say. The profession of my faith is in question. Why? Because my life doesn't look like the prosperity that should be coming from my life. So now I got people possibly questioning my commitment to God. I'm questioning, am I living right? Am I doing the right things for you? Right? The personal head, right? Now I'm saying my personal desires. God, there's things that I desire to do. There's things that I desire to do, not just for myself, but for your kingdom. There's the emotional pain that comes with being in this particular place. I'm crying. I'm tired, Lord. I'm weary. Like all this stuff. It feels like an indictment. The threat to marital security. At this particular time, a woman's primary role was to have children. So a woman that could not have children was also in the threat of her husband going to find somebody that could. Going to find somebody that could. Going to find somebody that could also do the things, right? So when you look at that, and yes, that's a great point, right? That you mentioned God bless Abraham with servants, but the servants ain't yours, right? The servants are always still sitting on the outside. So yes, he still had wealth, he still had prosperity, he still has servants. When we think about even what that means, you now have servants. Who do you leave all your wealth to? So everybody that's helping you with your wealth is not connected to you directly, right? So we look at those points, it's still in alignment with where they were. I got all this wealth, I got all this stuff lined up. Who's gonna take it to? What is my legacy left in the earth? Who am I leaving it to? Am I leaving it to all my servants? Who gets it? So now I've acquired this. Who manages it? Who takes care of it? Everybody that's doing anything for me is on payroll. I don't know about anybody else, but being in a position in life where everybody that's helping me, I gotta pay. There's nobody connected to my vision, nobody connected to me. It's just doing it because it's also part of their legacy, their lineage. It's very different. But I gotta pay everybody to help me. Everybody that's on my team, I gotta cut a check for. So the burden is still on me to provide for everybody. It seems like maybe nobody's just bought in. Everybody's in this place of a servant, a team member, an employee, a hireling. But where are the people that are just connected, that are part of me, that I get to say, I get to leave this to? I get to leave this to. I get to leave this to. All these things, right, are in alignment. How do I navigate this, right? There was also, again, a threat to marital security. Marital security. Women who were not able to bear children often had to give their husbands, give their maids, or give other people to their husbands just to bear children because children were so important. So now I've married this person and I can't produce what I'm supposed to produce. So I got to be okay with letting my husband sleep with my maids. And they get to produce what I cannot in my marriage. How many of us have been in spaces where we've connected people to places and we've been to connect for people to things and they're prospering off the connection, but we are not? The maid is only here. Maid, you only here because of your connection to me. But you're here able to produce and I can't produce. So I'm connecting you and you're producing and I'm still sitting here barren. How many of us have seen that in our businesses? We've seen it in our ministries. We're working with clients and the strategies we're giving them, they're running up the bag and it's not working for us. We're in church services preaching to people and they're being delivered and writing testimonies and sharing about how God is shifting their lives. And we're getting off the call and going to sleep depressed, going to sleep overwhelmed, going to sleep stressed out, going to sleep edges thinning, eating terribly, face breaking out. Let me ask me how I know. Face breaking out, all the things that are happening. So we are the connector. So now you're here because of my relationship, but you're prospering and I'm struggling in a relationship I gave you access to. We've dealt with some of these things, the cultural stigmas, right? The cultural stigmas, what other people think, what their opinions are of what I'm going through, what their opinions are of my situation. What people think that it means about me that I'm going through what I'm going through, right? All these things are happening to Sarah. Many of us can relate to at least one of these things. We can relate to at least one of these areas. And so here comes God at a point where I've navigated all these things. Here comes God making me a promise. Here comes God making me a promise. Because here's the thing. And this is the thing that I believe God is getting us ready for and allowing us to see, is that what happens is if I've navigated all this stuff, if I've processed what it was for everybody to think something had to be wrong with me, I've already gone through the deep personal hurt of the fact that I didn't get to have these things. I've already cried those tears. I've already gotten through that place. I've already dealt with the fact, right, that these implications of what it means about my own personal safety and my own personal security and what those things mean, right? These are all things that I've had to now trust in his hands, right? I had to trust and put in God's hands. So I've had to deal with what everybody else had to say. I had to deal with my own emotional sadness and my own emotional struggles. I had to deal with the economic stuff, the stuff around my own personal security, what that means, right? And what it means about legacy. I had to make peace with that. I had to make peace with the relationships, the doors that I opened. Everybody filled up the room and didn't leave space for me. I had to deal with what that looked like. But all of these things, if we look at them, they're all things that are connected to crutches. They're all things that connect us to what everybody else's thoughts and opinions are in relation to how we are navigating our relationship with God. And if I can navigate all these things, the negative stigmas, the negative opinions, the way it's supposed to have happened, I am now in a place where I'm open to however God does it. We are getting to a place, I believe God is bringing us to a place where he's shaking us free of all of our preconceived notions about how God should do it. He's getting us to a place where however God does it, I'm just glad it's done. However he does it, however he brings it forth, however he brings it to pass, however he chooses to do it, whenever he chooses to do it. My job is just to hold on. My job is just to stay connected. My job is just to stay focused. My job is just to stay engaged and locked in while he does what he is doing. Some of us, if he had done it sooner, would have had too much of our hand in it. Some of us, if he had done it before the crowd thinned out, we would have been obligated to include everybody in it. Some of us, if he had done it while we still cared so much about everybody else's opinion, we wouldn't have been able to walk in pure obedience because we would have been walking through the lens of what everybody else felt like we should be doing. Some of us, if he had asked us to do it when we still had extra money in our account, right, we wouldn't have felt the urgency because we'd have just felt like I'll get to it because I'm still nurturing this. Some of us, if we had done it at different timing, those different areas of our lives would have been louder than God's voice. But sometimes God waits until all those noises get quiet so we are actually in a place to hear directly from him. God has made us promises. I know God has made me promises. I know that God has made me promises that I'm going to see before December 31st. I know that God has made me promises that I'm going to see in 2024 and 2025. I know that God has made me promises. There's some things that I have asked God for that I know that God is either going to give me a yes or no to, and I'm okay with whichever way he chooses to go. What I want to encourage somebody today is that God waiting, God seemingly holding it up, God delaying it. I know we do these cliche commentaries about delay is not denial. And God is, you may not come when you want him, but he's right on time. I know we say it, but sitting in it don't feel like that. Sitting in, right, he may not come when he want him, but he's right on time. Like we say it, but sitting in it, it don't feel like that. It feels like he's late. It feels like he's not mindful. It feels like he's not kind. It feels like he's playing in our faces, right? Like we just be honest. I know we've learned to just superimpose cliches and catchy phrases on top of what we really feel. But if we be uber honest, or if I be uber honest, it don't feel like he on time. It feels like he running behind. It feels like he's stuck in traffic. It feels like he's not mindful of me. It feels like it's not kind of you, God, to have made me wait all this time and make peace with the things and then bring it back up to surface and promise it to me. And now I'm waiting on it again. And I'm going back through all the same triggers and emotions that I went through the first time waiting on it. It doesn't feel in character. It doesn't feel like he's being nice. If we be honest, if we be honest, it don't feel like that. If we be honest, and here's what I'm learning, that God can deal with our honest prayers. When we look at the story of Sarah, if we look at what Sarah says, Sarah in Genesis 18 and 12, it says, so Sarah laughed to herself and thought, after I am worn out and my Lord is old, now I will have this pleasure. Sarah thinks it in her mind. Sarah literally laughs in her mind like, God, I see you. Okay, God, that's cool. Heard you. Say less. Like, we know how we talk. Okay, right. I don't know if y'all remember, we used to be like, okay, when people would say something to us and when they turn their back, we'd be like, okay. You know, like, we used to do that. Here's the gag. God doesn't respond to Sarah in a harsh way. He says, why did Sarah laugh and say, will I really have a child now that I'm old? Is anything too hard for the Lord? He reminds her, I'll return to you at the appointed time next year, and Sarah will have a son. He gently challenges her. He doesn't drag her. He reaffirms her. I'm going to say this. If nothing else happens for me in this season, if nothing else has happened for me in this season, I have learned that it's okay to be honest and transparent with God. That I don't always have to have the right scripture, that I don't always have to make it sound good, that I can absolutely tell God this does not feel fair. I can absolutely tell God this does not feel right to me. I can absolutely tell God that my feelings are hurt. I can absolutely tell God that I feel like he's forgotten me. I can say to God, God, it look like you blessing everybody else and you skipping me over. I can say what I feel because here's the thing, he already knows it. And many of us are feeling X, but we're praying Y. I'm feeling X, but if I'm trying to shout and dance over it. I'm feeling X, but I'm trying to speak in tongues over it. And God is okay with us saying the thing. God is okay with us bringing to him the challenges. God is okay with us bringing to him the concerns. God is okay with us saying how we really feel. God visits us. I will absolutely tell y'all, last night, I did not have the best night. I didn't even get in my bed. I laid on my couch, wrapped myself up in a blanket and was like, God, you know what I need. You know what's pending. You know what my deadlines are. And God did not send me an angel, did not visit me in my living room. Nothing when I woke up this morning, everything was not perfectly better. But I'm going to tell you what happened. I felt his presence come into space. I felt his presence come into my space. I felt warm all over. And I felt like him reminding me, I am with you. I am with you. Even in this moment, I am with you. And here's the thing, him being with me doesn't mean that I wake up to a miraculous change. Him being with me doesn't mean that I wake up and a magic wand has been waved over my circumstance. But him being with me means that I am protected and I am covered and I am provided for. And that is what we have to be thinking about. But I don't know that God would have shown up if I just went to bed with an attitude. Or if I had been religious and hyper spiritual and been like, God, and I thank you. I did not thank him last night. I was not thankful last night. I was tired. I was overwhelmed. And he cared about that too. The beautiful part of Sarah's story, what I love about it, what I'm excited about, is that when we find Sarah again in Hebrews 11, the scripture says, by faith, Sarah herself received power to conceive, even when she was past the age, since she considered him faithful who had promised. This verse does not reference her initial doubt. This verse doesn't ignore her doubt, right? We know that it existed, but it focuses on the eventual trust in God that she came to. It focuses in on the place that she came to. I want to encourage somebody that you are going to get where you are going. And when you get there, the ebbs and flows of the journey, the nights that you cried, the nights that you did not trust, the times that you laughed in your head, the moments that you were overwhelmed, the moments where it did not make sense, the moments where maybe you created Ishmaels because you were just trying to make it work, trying to figure it out. You may have created moments, the moments that you had with Hagar, all that stuff. When we get down to it, when we really lock in, God remembers us through this lens. He remembers us. We get to be remembered through the lens of our faith. That God doesn't hold every struggle against us. He doesn't hold every moment against us, but we get addressed through the lens of faith. I am grateful to a God that will sit with me in my low moments, that will sit with me in the moments where I'm struggling, that will let me laugh in my head and still reaffirm me, that'll let me process what it is, that cares about the fact that this is emotional and that it is hard and that it is not easy. And that when it's all said and done, when he lifts me back up, he lifts me back up through the lens of the faith that I had in him, that I was able to count him as faithful, that I was able to navigate all that stuff and still trust his hand. There are people on here that are saying, God, it feels like trash sometimes, but I still trust you. I don't know how it's going to happen. I don't know when it's going to happen. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't feel good. I don't have a cliche. I don't have a thing that I can't play a tambourine over this one, God. But despite all of it, I am still trusting you. I'm holding on to the fact that you would just not lie to me. I'm holding on to the fact that you would not lie to me, that you would not have me out here looking crazy, that you wouldn't have me out here looking foolish, that you wouldn't leave me on this sidewalk. I'm holding on to who I know you to be. I'm holding on to your love and your compassion towards me. I'm holding on to the little bit that I got, that mustard seed that I got. I'm holding on to it. I know you're going to show up. I'm encouraging you to feel your feels. I'm not even going to tell you. I'm not going to tell you. I don't have a elevate your faith, smear faith over it. I don't have that this morning. I'm telling you, take it all to him. I'm telling you, don't give up. Here's what I'm going to say about Sarah. Sarah laughed in her head, but still kept trying to figure it out. Even in her moments of disbelief, you can still see faith. Why? Because in the moment that God made her a promise and she didn't see it, she still was trying to figure out how to bring it to pass. Hagar, no matter how we look at it, Hagar, yes, is a testament that her faith wasn't on 100. But Hagar, even in Sarah's life, is a testament that she believed that God was making her a promise. So she put her hand in it to try to help God. But it at least still says, I trusted that he made me a promise that I was going to have this child. Think about it. She did not give Hagar to Abraham earlier on in the story. She did not give Hagar to Abraham during the time where it would have made sense to do it. During the time where of the barrenness, where it was customary to have done it. At the time that she could bear children. At the time where everything. She waited until God made her a promise. And when the promise was being delayed, in inserts Hagar. And I know we look at that in a judgmental way. And we be like, Sarah messed it up. And then Ishmael was born. And then she threw Hagar out and did it up. But even Hagar is a little bit of a testament to the fact that she did believe God. She just couldn't see how he was going to get it done. Give yourself permission to forgive yourself for the Hagars. You had a little bit of faith. You really believed that God was going to bring it, but you stuck your hand in it a little bit. They called you and said, I'm going to make this connection for you. And you couldn't see it happening. You trusted the connection. You trusted that God was going to bring it to pass. And then you started trying to tinker. You still had a little bit of faith. You weren't faithless. Some of us have beat ourselves up. You had some. God is saying, increase your faith at this moment. Increase your faith. Get bigger in it. He's here with us. So we thank him for this morning. I don't want to go long. We're almost at the hour mark. We have 40-something minutes. If this helped anybody, let me know in the chat. Our faith is a journey. Between promise and performance, there is process and preparation. Between promise and performance, there's process and preparation. God is getting us ready and better. What you are birthing, your Isaac, is such a big promise. Your Isaac is such a big deal. Your Isaac is so important to future generations. He's getting you ready to birth it. He's getting you ready to bring it to pass. And all of this is just the process. And in it, God is still kind. He's not playing in our faces. He's not torturing us. He's not dangling a carrot. Right? Many of us have dealt with that. People dangle the carrot. They made us empty promises. They wanted us to jump on bandwagons. They promised us stuff so we would join their churches. They promised us stuff so we would be on their teams. They promised us stuff so we would work for free. They promised us stuff so that we would give them our time and our bodies and our money and our hearts. In relationships, people promised us outcomes that they had no intention. They promised us rings and all kinds of things they had no intention to give us. They dangled the carrot. God is not like that. He's not dangling a carrot. His delay is not him stringing us along. He's not taking us for a ride. He's not taking us on a journey with no ending. He's getting us ready and prepared. Between the promise and the performance, there is process and preparation. God is kind and merciful. Some of your process is the honest conversation with God. Some of your promise is the honest conversation with God. Some of our process is being able to just lay on that couch and wrap yourself in a blanket and talk to him about the thing that he promised you. Because here's the thing. After it's born, you have to talk, you have to lay on that couch again. After the promise manifests itself, don't think you're not going to have to go back to that couch and talk to him about the promise. I'm sure there were some days that Sarah had some conversations about Isaac. I'm sure Isaac didn't behave every single day. I'm sure Isaac had some moments where he had to be disciplined. I'm sure there was a moment where God tells Abraham, take Isaac up on the mountain. There were some moments after Isaac was born. Some of what God has prepared us for is to raise Isaac. We think it's all about birthing Isaac, but God doesn't want us to give birth to something that we can't handle. He doesn't want us. His mercy and his grace won't let us birth something that we can't prepare for, that we can't adequately raise. So he's getting us ready not just to birth it, but to take care of it, to move it forward, to trust him enough to sustain it once he gives it to us, right? That is what God is doing. And so he is kind. And he is merciful, and he is thinking of us and considering us. And we are grateful to be in his care and grateful to be loved by him. So as we go in prayer, God, we thank you this morning. We thank you that yesterday you revved us up. Yesterday you got us thinking. Yesterday, today, thank you for sobering and balancing it out. Thank you, oh God. God, for giving us a balance to understanding this particular story. Thank you, oh God, for allowing us to find ourselves in your word, oh God. Thank you that while you want us to be built up and strong and praising, you also make room for our moments of doubt. You make room for the moments where we've stepped out of the boat, but our feet sinks a little bit. You made room for the moments where the waves distract us and the wind catches our attention and we lose focus. God, thank you for realigning us back on focus. Thank you, oh God, for remembering us that the end of a thing is so much better than the beginning of a thing. Thank you, oh God, that you are the author and the finisher. Thank you, oh God, that you finish what you start. Thank you, oh God, that you're able to bring us to completion. Thank you, oh God, that even in the middle, if we mess it up a little bit, if we suss it up a little bit, you're able to help us get back in alignment as long as we keep coming back to you, keep talking to you. Thank you, oh God, that you can handle our thoughts. Thank you, oh God, that you're not off-put by what we really feel. God, while humans may not be able to handle our emotions and our thoughts, and even the bipolar, the up and down of this particular journey, the up and down of this process, the days we feel strong, followed by days that feel weak, the days that we feel all in, followed by days that we wonder, should we even be here? God, thank you, oh God, that you can ride these waves with us. Thank you, oh God, that you're able to ride the ebbs and flows with us and to keep us from falling and to keep us in alignment and to keep us strengthened and strong. We thank you for it, God. We thank you for the freedom that comes as we navigate this Freedom Friday. Thank you for the freedom that comes with the ability to just have an honest conversation with you, to tell us tell you how we really feel, to tell you what we really think, to trust you with our emotions, to trust you with our feelings, to trust that you're able to handle it. And you're able to keep us from falling and keep us lifted up and elevated. God, we thank you for just being who you are. Thank you for your integrity and for your character. Thank you, oh God, for being a safe space. Thank you, oh God, for being a place we can lay our heads. Thank you for being a place we can lay our thoughts and our worries and our fears. And thank you, oh God, for building us back up, for being with us, for affirming us and giving us the strength to hold on until the promise arrives, until the performance happens. There will be a performance of those things. We thank you, oh God. We thank you, oh God, and we give you glory and we count it as done. We go into this weekend. We are going into this weekend strengthened. We are going into this weekend reminded that he is able to do exceeding and abundantly above all we can ask or think. We're going into this weekend clear about the fact that he does not lie to us. Right? If that connects with you, drop a yes in the chat. I'm going into this weekend good. I'm going into this weekend sure. I'm going into this weekend sure about God because I know he's sure about me. Right? I'm going into this weekend reminding myself that there is no good thing he withhold. I'm going into this weekend reminding myself of who and how God is. Right? That's how we're entering this weekend. That's how we're going forward. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning as you come in. Right? Good morning. I'm going into this weekend clear about who God is in my life and who I am to him. Not only am I clear about who he is to me, but some of us got to be real clear about who he is to us. Who God is to me and who I am to God. Because who I am to God is important. Who I am to God, how God sees me, how God loves me is just as important to my faith journey as how much I love him. It all matters. Right? So we're going to go into this weekend stronger and moving forward. I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. Remember, if you have not registered for When Faith Meets Strategy, the Crossroad, you need to be in the room. Right? Thank you. I think it's Adeseye Amole. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly. I'm gonna go look up the phonetics, right? But thank you for coming in and being hyper engaged. Thank you, David Wood, for coming in, right? You need to get in the room. Make the investment to get in the room. Friday is gonna be crazy, right? Jakari is coming. Psalmist Shakari. Follow my Instagram. If you've never heard her, just go follow on Instagram, right? Bishop Courtney Bradley is coming. Bishop Mason is coming. Bishop Stewart from Texas is coming, right? So my Bishop Mason will be there. Then we're gonna have Prophet Chanel Martin from KBN who is coming in as well. So Friday, I'm already mapping out the day, curating the day. Y'all not gonna hear as much from me on Friday. Saturday will be the day that I do more of my talking. So you want to register for the full event. Friday, I'm just going to get up and share some things on my heart. And there's going to be just an open space of prophetic worship. I believe that God is going to send you the clarity you need. Again, I believe that pharaohs are going to dream again on Friday, right? Pharaohs are going to dream again on Friday. Pharaohs are going to dream again on Friday. Pharaohs, I see that, but hold on. Pharaohs are going to dream again on Friday. Pharaohs are going to dream again on Friday. And then Saturday, we're going to unpack, right? We're going to step into our Joseph space, right? And I'm going to walk with you. I believe God is going to grace me to help interpret and strategize some of your dreams, some of the things that you've been holding. But I believe that Pharaoh is going to dream again. Your vision is going to be clearer. God is going to give you what you need to navigate. I believe that God is going to give some of us what we need to literally navigate the next 7 years of our lives. That he's literally going to give us what we need, the foresight, because we know what the world is saying. We know what the world is saying about what's happening and what's coming up. We need to know what God is saying about what's happening for us. We know what the signs read, yes, but what is God telling me to do? How is he telling me to move? What is he telling me to launch? What is he telling me not to launch? How am I storing up? How am I preparing? I believe that God is going to do something miraculous for us. And if God leads me to be Prophet Joy on Friday, I will also share what God leads me to share. But I'm excited about creating a space with people I trust to hear from God, that I trust to speak what God is saying. These are people that I know ain't just talking because they got lips, ain't just thirsty to be on a microphone, but really will speak what the word of the Lord is saying. I'm probably going to see if I can get them on a live, on a conversation, so people can hear from them and experience them. But I'm uber excited about what it is that God is doing. So go ahead and grab your tickets. I will see y'all November 17th and 18th. Remember, the 17th is my birthday. So we're going to have a time, right? I want God to say something to me. So I may not be Prophet Joy. I might be sitting in my seat letting God say something to me. It's my birthday. I'm excited about that. Come celebrate with me and then stay for Saturday to really get where we're going to dig into a closed door session with about 40 to 50 people. Closed door session. I'm uber excited about that. Intimate space where we really get to hear from God and get downloads for what it is that we're going to be doing next. I love you all. You have a dope day on purpose. And remember to count it all joy. I'll see y'all.